As Jacob Jankowski is preparing for his finals in veterinary sciences at Cornell University, tragedy strikes his once perfect life. In a sudden car accident, his parents are killed. Upon completing his finals, he was due to practice at his father's veterinary office. Left with no money, Jacob hits the road. Jacob soon finds himself on the train of the Benzini Brothers Circus, the most spectacular show on earth. Along Jacob's journey with the Benzini Brothers, he meets many new friends. He meets August, Uncle Al, Marlena, Camel, Kinko, also known as Walter, and Rosie the elephant.
August is the Benzini Brothers equestrian director. He is also married to Marlena. August has a dark side. One second he is charming, and the next he is beating Rosie the elephant with the bullhook. Uncle Al is not much different than August. Uncle Al owns the Benzini Brothers Circus. Throughout the story, he is thought to want his circus to be just like the Ringling Brothers. This obsession leads to a lot of poor decisions.
Marlena is the Benzini Brothers' star performer. She is beautiful and the audience adores her. She joined the circus after running away from home. In the book, August suggests that Marlena was born to be in the circus. Then she later marries August. Camel is one of the first people that Jacob meets when he jumps onto the Benzini Brothers train. Camel is the whole reason that Jacob gets a job on the circus. Camel ends up becoming one of Jacob's best friends. Kinko, also known as Walter, shares living quarters with Jacob on the train. At first they did not get along, but soon their relationship grew into a great friendship. In the beginning of the story, Walter only allowed Jacob to call him Kinko because only his friends were allowed to call him Walter. Jacob was eventually allowed to call him Walter once Kinko considered Jacob his friend. After the tragic loss of the Benzini Brothers' star attraction, Silverstar the horse, Rosie is bought to be the lead act with Marlena. She is believed to be useless, but a shocking discovery later proves otherwise. Sarah Gruen puts a real twist on the novel. Throughout the novel, about every other chapter, she takes the reader to when Jacob was 90 or 93 years old. You can't remember which one it is. It is disheartening to the reader to see how sad Jacob feels being a widower and stuck in a nursing home. We really enjoyed being able to compare Jacob from when he was young to how he is as an elderly man. As soon as Uncle Al discovers that Jacob was almost an Ivy League veterinarian, he hires him as the circus's new vet. After being hired, Jacob Jankowski's adventure as the Benzini Brothers vet had then begun.
A connection I made with Jacob is that I am Polish and can speak Polish too. Everything written throughout the novel that was in Polish was something I could read and understand. For example, on page 55, a voice carries across the jumble of noise. Ojcze nasz, któryś jest w niebie, święć się imię Twoje, przyjdź królestwo Twoje. I was able to make a connection with whoever was speaking in Polish. This person is reciting the prayer of Our Father, and being Polish, I know that we are very Catholic and religious people.
Finally, I see a Catholic church. I sit in a pew near the back for a long time, staring at the stained glass behind the altar. Although I want absolution dearly, I am unable to face confession. Eventually, I leave the pew and go light votive candles for my parents. As I turn to leave, I catch sight of Marlena. She must have come in while I was in the alcove. Me and Isabella can make a connection to this quote because we are both Catholic. This is a connection to Marlena and Jacob also both being Catholic. Another connection we made was on page 60 when Jacob and August are talking and then they climb to the roof of the train. He points down the length of the train. It stretches behind us like a giant snake, the linked cars jiggling and bending as it rounds like a curve. It's a beautiful sight, isn't it, Jacob? Says August. I look back at him. He's staring at me, his eyes glowing. Not quite as beautiful as my Marlena, though. Hey, hey, he clicks his tongue and winks. Before I can protest, he stands up and tap dances across the roof. This reminds us of the movie The Polar Express. It reminds us of how the boy from the movie and Jacob were both new to the crew on the trains, and when they're led up to the roof of the cars and they just see the beautiful scenery, and it kind of opens up both of their minds. Although there are times I'd give anything to have her back, I'm glad she went first. Losing her was like being cleft down the middle. It was the moment it all ended for me, and I wouldn't have wanted her to go through that. Being the survivor stinks. This quote displays Jacob's love and compassion for his wife. He is glad that she passed away first because he did not want her to be sad if he were to actually have passed.
When you crashed in the clouds,
Maybe it was me. Maybe I wanted to hate him because I'm in love with his wife. And if that's the case, what kind of man does that make me?
The love between people is very strong in Water for Elephants. The marriage between Marlena and August and Jacob's love for Marlena. Jacob's love for Marlena starts as a crush, but as the story unfolds, it becomes more.
A love for these animals wells up in me suddenly, a flash flood, and there it is, solid as an obelisk and vicious as water. My father felt it his duty to continue to treat animals long after he stopped getting paid. He couldn't stand by and watch a horse colic or a cow labor with a breech calf, even though it meant personal ruin. The parallel is undeniable.
The love between people is very strong in Water for Elephants. The marriage between Marlena and August and Jacob's love for Marlena. Jacob's love for Marlena starts as a crush, but as the story unfolds, it becomes more.
One of the greatest indignities about being old is that people insist on helping you with things like bathing and going to the washroom. I don't in fact require help with either, but they're also afraid I'm going to slip and break my hip again, that I get a chaperone whether I like it or not. I always insist on walking into the washroom myself, but there's always someone there, just in case, and for some reason it's always a woman. I make whoever it is turn around while I drop my drawers and sit, and then I send her outside until I am finished.
The second theme we chose was a theme that applied to elderly Jacob. While Jacob is in his 90s, he feels that he is being treated like a kid, or one who is incapable of doing everyday things, such as using the restroom. Jacob also sometimes feels that the nurses in the nursing home believe that he has no opinions and that he cannot think for himself. On page 20 of the novel, Jacob stands in his parents' home with the mortgage broker. But I don't understand, Jacob says. Even if he took payment in, whatever, how does that make everything belong to the bank? They fell behind in their mortgage, replies the mortgage broker. My parents didn't even have a mortgage. He looks uncomfortable, holds his steepled fingers in front of him. Well, yes, actually they did. No, they didn't, Jacob argued. They've lived here for 30 years. My father put away every cent he ever made. The bank failed, adds the mortgage broker. This alludes to the Great Depression and how people invested so much of their money into the banks, thinking it would be safe, and how all of a sudden, all of the banks just failed, leading into the Great Depression, causing hardships for many people, such as Jacob's family in this book.
Water for Elephants takes you through the tale of Jacob and the Manzini brothers circus. We learn that love prevails all, and what is meant to be will be.